Hey everybody, welcome to Divine Plot Twist. And continuing from the last video we just checked out, the next part of the panel is the black church better than the white church? Let's see.
Black church is better than the white church.
Join our Middle Ground Patreon to watch this exclusive prompt.
The church has helped black people more than the government.
Oh, hold on, what just happened? Oh, all right, I guess you have to join the Patreon to see that part of the video. Again, link in the description down below. Go check out the Jubilee channel. Some serious debate going on.
You hesitate a little bit.
Yeah, totally.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Only two showed up?
Because it's like
Two more
a
coming.
two-headed sword, right? Because church is someplace that we can go, gather. It is very helpful to the community in the sense of we can be there together. We can have conversations with one another. At one point during slavery, it may be the only place you can see your family or connect with one another. A lot of churches can help build different programs within the community. But I think, again, it comes back to that word of like wanting to assemble someplace, wanting to be with people that look like you. And a lot of the church movement did have to force the government's hand of like, all right, we need civil rights. So that was kind of birthed and, pushed through in that way. So no, I don't trust the government, and I don't think the government is here to help black people. I don't think the government is here to help really any poor people.
Facts. The government ain't here to help no poor people, let alone black people. You poor, don't matter what race you are.
And a lot of black people, unfortunately, are disenfranchised, so.
This is interesting that all the atheists step forward for
So
this.
I go back to history after slavery and Reconstruction, right? So after slavery, there were blacks in Congress. There was black progress. However, once Reconstruction ended, and there were racist people that were brought in power to disfranchise black folks. There were many churches in the religious community that helped support in times when black folks couldn't get good jobs, who could not get a good education, even though there were historically black colleges and universities. I do tend to give the church its credit at times, and again, that doesn't mean the black church gets to define the black community in its entirety, and that it should define all of us that way. But we have to give credit historically where it's
credit
due.
is due.
The U.S. government has had a lot of policies to keep African Americans down for the past, ever since after slavery and even before. So we also had redlining, which kept black communities poor and away from certain jobs in the inner city, white flight. All these things, were perpetrated and supported by the U.S. government in every single major city in the United States.
Facts. You have to learn some history a little bit to understand what this dude is talking about. But that is a thing. Redlining, back in the 70s, 60s, that was a thing. Even white people won't disagree with me. They know what they did.
But the one place where black people we can come and congregate was the church. It was kind of a de facto
And
place.
get information.
And get information.
Yes.
So my question to all of you guys as atheists who stood up for this one
For sure.
is, do you guys view it as more of a lesser than two evil situation where you guys just really distrust the government? So why you guys agreed to this prompt? How would you answer that?
See, even the way that you worded the question, the lesser of two evils, because evil is a word that gets really
I meant that in just like a phrase.
No, I know, but I'm just saying the underlying tones of just like the American community, and therefore it's projecting its domination throughout the world, right?
Let's say the lesser of two entities in this instance.
Sure.
The church itself, it's about what it doesn't do. It's not about how it hurts the community. It's about what it doesn't do, not what it does do, right? So I think that with the government, for every new deal that you get a war on drugs. For every welfare system that's implemented, we get cracks and gun in our community.
Yeah.
Right. So I believe that when it comes, I believe that the black church historically has given us jobs, organized our movements. Without the black church, we would not be here today. Let's get that straight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. They were very important, but today they don't have the same value historically. And the government, just after the George Floyd protests, The two major bills that were passed, even though they passed 1,000 oversight bills for police brutality, the main bills that they passed was, I believe, an Asian hate bill and an LGBTQ hate bill. So,
that's very interesting. In the U.S. Constitution, all the bills from the time the United States was founded, there isn't one bill that is pro-black. If I'm wrong, and I'm challenging everybody who's watching this, show me a bill that says it's for anti-lynching. Even though we have pictures and we've seen what the lynching was, was done. Like the people that were affected, it wasn't white people, it was black people being lynched all the time. Like even that one NASCAR driver had a noose around his garage. That's why people were like, hey, what the hell? And still, till to date, there isn't one bill that is for oppression of the black people or the lynching. There's nothing. There's not a bill. I challenge you, find one. I'd be surprised to see one. But this is the reason why these people are saying the government hasn't done anything for black people. Because if you knew the atrocities that were done to black people, and there's still today not a bill that says anti-lynching, even though that's a fact recorded, there's pictures all over that happened. How is it how is the government helping the black people? Not really, if you think about it, if you're a deep thinker. But if you're a shallow thinker, this conversation is not for you.
So I don't think that the government is necessarily, I believe that it's too overstretched.
And also, let's take it to the reparations discussion.
Yeah.
About how there were supposed to be reparations after slavery.
Yeah.
I still want my 40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule.
Give me my 40 acres and a mule.
And that was thwarted.
Yeah.
Now, this is where I separate, just because I wasn't raised here, neither were my ancestors any slaves. We were colonized, where I'm from. But that's a different story. But reparations, though, let me say something about this. If they went ahead and gave the African American, the Americans that are of melanated skin, reparations, if they went ahead and did that, do you know what that would do to the economy? The economy would just fall as fast as I gave you those reparations. So instead of people thinking, hey, we need a handout from the government from all what we went through, we should be thinking about uplifting ourselves. There's nothing wrong with receiving reparations. I'm just saying, if they did it, they wouldn't be doing it for the goodness of their hearts. They'll be doing that to damage you. Yeah, everybody get 40 acres and a mule, then tax you on that land. You ain't got the job to pay those taxes. And then what? They take back the land, right? Or they give you money, and then they lower the value of the dollar. Then that money doesn't help you. So you understand where I'm coming from? So this reparation thing, I've heard it a lot of times, and I've had a lot of time to think about it. And I get where people are coming from, but how would that benefit the descendants of the slaves? If anything, that would have been given to the slaves that endured the hardship. Sure, they're not here to see it anymore. But I feel like even the economics, the way today is, if you give someone 40 acres of land and a mule, or whatever the saying is, or let's just say give them 300,000 each, what would most people spend that money on? Just think about that. It wouldn't be because, and I don't want to marginalize people here, because I'm a black person. Even though I didn't grow up here, I'm still black. I understand what happens, but we don't have that education of how to handle money. I suddenly did it. I had to learn the hard way. And I know a lot of us are like that. How many people have budgets in their homes? You just get the check and you spend it according to how your needs come. Nobody teaches our kids how to do budgets or how to save money, how to invest. Because if we did, we'd be in a better off position than we are in today. So the whole reparation thing, it's a touchy topic. I can support it, but mostly no. Just because I know they won't be doing that to help us come up. Do you get my drift? I'm not against it, but I'm saying if they ever did it, it wouldn't be to help us. It would be actually to destroy us.
Through the U.S. government. So we can definitely even point to that. And we are still having this discourse about reparations and economic justice that we shouldn't be having now, that the federal government could have resolved a long time ago.
And still could.
Let's hold. Let's bring the disagreeers. Would anyone like to start?
Yeah, I'm a little bit neutral when it comes to this standpoint because I feel that there was a lot of redlining. You brought up such a great point. When I was exposed to the amount of redlining that the government had imposed on Black communities, minority communities, especially what's happening up in San Francisco right now, up in New York, it was bizarre. And that had pushed a lot of Christian churches, a lot of churches in general, to open up assistant living, open up food shelters and home shelters for assisting in people that the government wasn't doing. But at the same time, the church was also pushing this on the government, on their local legislators and their mayors to also make movements and propositions to do that. So it's kind of like this fine line between both. I don't trust the government. I don't trust also completely like people who run the church because they're not all good people. They're not all good people who we elect as well into our branches and legislator governments and stuff. So there's just this neutrality that I'm sit between with because is it really going to benefit, or are these just propositions to just temporarily save someone's butt and then go on to the next and then just continue to like put the Band-Aid on the big scar?
Facts. She has a valid point there. Is this to benefit us or to put a Band-Aid?
I ask myself, why didn't I walk up in favor of the church doing more? And at the risk of giving any ammo for the other side, no, at the risk, I think I look at the church with a very critical eye. I think that I'm troubled by what we do and what we don't do. I'm troubled by how we do some of the stuff that we do, and we miss the bigger pictures, right? And so for that reason, I had to just hold back and say, I don't think that we're doing all that we should be doing.
Sorry to interrupt, but what are some specific examples of that?
I think that we've gotten into this Western world mentality where church now is gimmicky. I think that it's about becoming so seeker friendly. And we play to certain audiences, we play to certain things. We code switch organizationally, if you could believe that. You can have a church over here where everybody is praying for healing, but everybody's broke. This church over here.
What did Pastor Demina say? The most broke people are in church. Hey, here's another pastor saying that. I don't know if he's a pastor. I was just saying it's a fact, right? Praying for healing, everybody's broke.
Here is a church of prosperity. This church over here is a church of tongue talking. So you've got these.
A church of tongue talking. Yeah. Oh, this guy is really giving it to them. Yeah.
Different characteristics that if there's no balanced theological view of it. And so I think the church runs the risk of showing up impotent in some of the conversations that we need to have.
How much money does your church make a year? This is important. How much money does your church make a year?
I don't have that number at the top of my mind. I wasn't coming to talk about the budget. Church over here where everybody is praying for healing, but everybody's broke. This church over here is a church of prosperity. This church over here is a church of tongue talking. So you've got these different characteristics that if there's no balanced theological view of it. And so I think the church runs the risk of showing up impotent in some of the conversations that we need to have.
How much money does your church make a year? This is important. How much money does your church make a year?
I don't have that number at the top of my mind. I wasn't coming to talk about the budget.
Okay. That's very important. The reason why I bring it up is because we're talking about what the Black community, what the Black church does for the community, right? And if you are taking money from the Black participants who go to your church, you should know how much money you're taking from the community, especially since the community isn't financially stable. Yeah. But also churches that make over $100,000 per year should do exactly what the Black church used to do during the Civil Rights era.
I think it's a harsh criticism. I think it's a huge assumption.
Wait, hold on.
I do not disagree with what he's saying. I mean, if a church is making that much money and the community is poor, yeah, there should be some accountability. It's not a harsh criticism. It's just a fact. Like, where I live, I'm around people, we make ends meet, let me just say that. But if I'm taking my money 10%, and I have personal experience with this, where you take money to church, but when it comes to the church helping you, nowhere to be seen. So it's not harsh criticism. It's just stating the facts. You can't collect money from the poor people and then don't do anything in return to improve their lives.
institutions,
hold
on, let him finish.
So churches that do make over $150,000 a year, they need to invest that money into black institutions.
With all due respect,
Wait,
$150,000.
I do want to hear from his response. How would you respond?
You can start a bank with that.
How would you respond?
I think we have to be careful about drawing assumptions of what churches do. I was making a very broad commentary about how I see churches behave, but don't get me wrong, there are a lot of churches that are doing exactly what you just said they should be doing.
Turkeys and shoes aren't enough.
Well, see.
Oh man, this dude says turkeys and shoes are not enough, man. Every Thanksgiving you get a box of shoes and some turkey. You're right, that's not enough.
I can't get into that part of it because turkeys and shoes are not the conversation I'm having. I'm having a conversation about a methodology to reach a people and be a service to a community. I'm talking about down payment assistance so that black folks can own homes. I'm talking about doing financial stewardship education courses. I'm talking about, counseling and support systems for family and standing in the gap for mothers with the single mothers with children and make.
These all sound like good ideas, but show me one church that is doing the things that he's mentioning. Just point it out, put it on the comments down below.
Making sure that they have mentors for their sons and their daughters. I'm talking about programs that actually affect folks' lives. But meanwhile, you're on a different page, and I get that. But I wouldn't brush that very broad because there are a lot of ministries that are doing it. What I'm looking at is the impact of the way this division amongst the body of Christ actually shows up in the world. I think it shows up a little bit less impotent than it should. And on behalf of the body of Christ, I apologize that you've seen that more than you've seen the effective work.
Is that fair?
No.
Honest answer. He's not satisfied.
Oh, it's not fair. And once again, when you dive into this with Christians, I often feel that there's this neglect for politics. Jesus was a fighter. Jesus was a fighter. He was not
anti-capitalist.
He was not pacifist. He was anti-capitalist, right? So while what you're saying is very good, and I respect the fact that you are a leader, right, and that you do own your own.
I don't know if that's true. If Jesus was an anti-capitalist. Just because if he was, there should have been some other sources saying it. But the only sources of Jesus we have is the 4 Gospels, Mark, Luke, Matthew, and John. And those are hanging on a thread. It's easy to dismantle them and question the narratives out there. So I don't know. I don't know if Jesus was an anti-capitalist. I keep hearing this term nowadays, anti-capitalism, but I really don't understand what the concept behind it is, but maybe I'll do more research.
Own black church, right? But there needs to be more. I don't want you just meeting with mothers, right? If my grandma is funding her own displacement every single time she donates to the church and they put their money at Chase Bank.
Yeah.
You understand that, right?
I guess, what specifically would you like?
What's the more that you're looking for within the churches for the black community?
I need the church to put their race. I need all black Christians to put their race either on the same level or above Christianity politically, not socially, politically.
Yeah.
Right? We need to, as a pastor, you need to preach that the church needs institutions. Otherwise, every single time that our grandmas go and pay tithes, they are funding their own displacement.
How is that?
Y'all let me know if you agree with him or not. I totally understand what he's saying. He's saying if we're going to collect money, we at least need to put it in a black-owned bank just to support our own people. That's what I'm getting from this. Basically what he's saying, look, the church is great, collect your money, don't have beef with that. But what you do with that money, instead of buying yourself big jets like Cliff Dollar, that $60 million jet you got there, you could have opened a bank for black people, black folks, or minorities to use. You could have opened a hospital or training something. That's what he's saying. And I don't get the other panelists. I'm not sure if they're understanding it the way I'm understanding it, but let's see.
Is that better than white supremacy, though? If you're asking us to be supremacists about being black people.
Who said anything?
Well, you brought up white supremacy.
Do you know what supremacy entails?
Yes, I know what you're about to say. I know what you're about to say. However, you have brought up white supremacy several times, but now you're saying put your blackness above everything. Black is the only way to think about, and that is a supremacy in and of itself. No, which I can respect your opinion on that, but I don't.
I disagree with you, lady. That is not supremacist. Saying that the church needs to put money back in the community to uplift the community or whatever, saying in par with Christianity or above it, that is not supremacist, right? He's saying uplift your people. But again, like I said in the other video, I think she grew up sheltered.
Operate just because of my blackness. There's so much more to me as a human, a woman, and other things. An American, like there are things that are intersectional about me as a person in this world. That's not just everything has to be about my race. And I have a problem with that. Just that thought in general, that everything must be seen through the eyes of being black. And if you don't, you get your black card.
All right. I get your point. Calm down. I get it.
I think what he's trying to say.
Let me answer it.
Can we stop with this self-care weeks? Like, what if we did adult weeks instead? Think about it. Instead of laying in bed and rotting away, we...
Yeah, go ahead.
So I never told you to use your blackness to make anybody else feel inferior by the way of their race. So no, I'm not spreading black supremacy. And I find it often that racist white people and black people in the church love to call me racist, bro.
I'm not.
Love to call me racist and a supremacist.
I am not
What are you
the
trying to
church,
say?
though. That's the thing. I am not the church in the way that you're trying to.
Oh man, this conversation done turned into something else. We were going against Christianity and atheism. Now it's into white supremacy and black supremacy. I don't believe there's such a thing as black supremacy. You tell me what is a black supremacy. When have you seen black people dominate the world? Show me one time where they went with whips and lashes and told you have to be black or your black card is taken away. This lady is taking this conversation, steering the conversation to a different direction.
Let him clarify.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that if you are a part of the Black Power movement and if you are conscious of what goes on in the black community, then there is no way in hell that you will put being gay over being black, you will put being a Christian over being black, you will put being a woman over being black. You can get disabled. You can get disabled. But that's about it. That's about it. There is no reason in the world.
Whose entire identity is on their sexuality and being gay as well. So what about that?
The reason
you don't have
why,
a problem with that because if they're not Christian, then it's okay to be gay and black, right?
What is this lady? I mean, you don't understand what he's saying. I think he's saying is this: being black should be your first thing, then everything else under it. Which I don't disagree. Right? You can be whatever you want to be, but always recognize your ethnicity and your race as the first thing first. You understand that, then you won't have to feel insecure or feel like you need to prove something to anybody, as long as you know who you are.
It depends on how you align yourself politically. I just said you guys can be Christian. You guys can be Christian, but you need to prioritize blackness.
Isn't our existence more than our political stance?
That's force-fed to you, brother, to be ignorant.
No. It's my belief. It's well thought out. I believe that who I am as a person is very much more broader than what you're describing I should be. Right? I think that I just do. Now, am I for the cause and the advancement of black folks? Absolutely.
How?
Globally.
How?
I'm not here to prove my blackness to you. I'm here to talk about...
I believe the question was, how are you for the cause of black people? They didn't ask you to prove it. And this is a common theme with Christians, right? They always duck in questions and pushing the ball in the next step over there, like down the line. They never answer questions directly. They always gonna hit you with something else, trying to move away from the point. He could have said, well, this is what I've done. Is that good enough for you? And then we go from there. But now he's getting his deep bag of feelings.
I'm talking about the difference, the chasm between you and I with the belief system. And what I'm saying is...
Again, how did this conversation go from black community to I and you? See, this individualistic views of the world and of the culture separates us, right? Let me tell you something. When a people unite, ain't nothing can take them down. I'll give you a good example. Just take a look at the Indian community, or the Koreans, or the Chinese, or these Asian countries. When they go to a place, they unite. They come up with businesses and they hire their own. Only us black folk, we always looking out for ourselves. It's just, I don't know what's wrong with that, with us. I mean, because you'll never find a place where a black community is like, yo, you will, but not a lot. You know, a lot of people want to be separated from each other. Like they want to just be them and them alone. For example, I went to Europe last year, and the few black folks I could find, I said hello to them, and they gave me the side eye. And I'm like, bro, you just look like me. We look alike. Why can't you just say hi to me? I wasn't trying to ask him for money or anything. I was just saying hello, like, yo, I see you amongst all these other people. But they acted like they were better than I was. Hey, anyways, I'm deviating here. Let's continue.
Well, I respect you. You got to respect me for this conversation to be fluid.
Absolutely.
Right? Because I'm not challenging you or diminishing what you believe. I'm listening to you and I understand your come from. But the only way we experience another culture is that we explore our commonalities. So I get your passion. I get your passion. And I definitely do the work in our community. And if you're suggesting that we should probably...
What work, man? Say it. That's what he asked. You can't beat your chest and not even say what you do.
Do other work, then let's have that conversation, because having a conversation that makes me feel like I need to surrender my black card is a conversation that gives...
Nobody's asking nobody to surrender the black card. There's no such thing as surrendering your black card. Are you going to surrender your black card and be what? What you going to be? Answer me that.
It's more of a chasm, so we never get there together.
Why in the
that
face
becomes
of
another
pro-blackness? Why in the face of pro-blackness, everyone else's blackness feels diminished? That's insane to me.
No, because it's the...
That's a good question.
What I'm saying is that a portion of your energy and time needs to politically go into black institutions and black politics in order for us to get a foothold in the
Says you, but you're not an authority for me. You're not an authority
my brother says
all black.
What I just finished saying, that we as black people, we rarely unite. Instead of this guy seeing his point of view, he's like, you're not my authority. I don't have to listen to you. Why are you diminishing my stuff? See, this is the same thing. This guy is proving the point. When it becomes about black people, every other person who isn't into black culture or black things, they always like, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. You don't have to have that mentality. You're trying to take my black card away. That's not what the conversation is. And I don't know how we went from a debate between the church, religion, to what we have right now.
Science.
No. Political science isn't my authority.
Let's take a step back, because I think we're getting too wrapped up actually in the black part of it right now. And I think...
Yes. Thank you, ma'am.
Ultimately, I understand a lot of what you're saying. And you're specifically talking about capitalism, right?
No.
And how it affects black people in the world.
No.
Okay. So you are talking about putting blackness above everything else politically.
Do you guys feel like black people and Africans are oppressed globally?
Yeah.
And in America?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So we all have that common belief, right? So systemically, right? The only way for us to beat systemic racism is for us to get institutions of our own, right?
True.
The only way for us to get out of this oppression, right, is for us to stop playing around with everyone else's beliefs and ideologies and focus on an Afrocentric belief. That's what I'm saying. You guys can do whatever you want, love everyone, be whatever type of intersectionality that you would like to be, right? But if you support Israel and Gaza, if you're putting that on your story, then I need you to put the Congo on there as well.
Yeah.
I need you to...
That's a great point. But I'm sure Roxy over there has something to say. I already see her hands up. So let's see.
Haiti on there
Do
as
you know
well.
how many black Catholics are being murdered by other black Africans in Nigeria right now?
Thank you. So let's talk about that.
And whose fault is that? Who brought Christianity to Africa, ma'am? Tell me that. You said that the church has nothing to do with whatsoever. One person takes a thing and turns it into it, they've misrepresented it. But whose fault is that? If I believe earlier you say that the church didn't take other people's culture, I think that was Fitzgerald. But now you're saying that black Catholics are being killed in Nigeria. By who? By the Muslims, another religion. Man,
But you haven't said anything about this. It's all about what's going on in the blackness. You're assuming that we don't think about these things. I think about these things. I know, I'm highly aware of them. I'm highly sensitive. So it's not fair for you to say that just because we're black Christians or we're black American Christians or whatever, that we don't think about these things. We do. We might see things in a different way or a different, way of solution, but it doesn't mean that we're not there. We don't think it's important.
I just feel as black people in our community, we put an overly emphasis on Jesus and on the church. And in a lot of poor black communities, you'll see a bunch of churches. But you know what you won't see? You won't see a bank. You won't see a hospital. You won't even see a grocery store with good food. You go to a liquor store or something, there's an era behind the liquor store.
Hey, he ain't lying. He ain't lying. Put a one down there if he's lying. And we know you're a liar too. I'm just playing.
There's people that don't look like us. These are issues that aren't even addressed by the church. It's like sometimes I feel I go to a church, they don't even care sometimes. They just want more members. And as a person who grew up in the black community and grew up in a black church, I understood these problems even when I was young. So these are problems that us as black people need to come together and figure out and stop building so many churches in our communities. How many Ebenezer Baptist churches are there?
Right.
You know what I'm
saying?
Right, we don't need that.
We need, if we're going to walk as Christians and have the black church, we should be helping the poor. We should be helping the orphans. We should be helping the widow. We should be helping the single mothers. We should be helping the disenfranchised. And that is a part of Christianity. And the fact that that is not happening, I totally agree that is a problem. So we are absolutely on the same page about that.
Wow. Y'all tell me what you think about that. I find this conversation very interesting. And I know I keep throwing my 2 cents in there, and I don't mean to be biased. I'm just looking at this in the lens of a person who really, religion shouldn't be the catalyst of our lives. They shouldn't. But anyways, do you tell me what you think? Like, subscribe, and you know what to do. Share it.